The studio lights of The View glowed like a promise as Johnny Depp walked onto the set, his boots quiet against the polished floor. He wore his familiar mix of charm and caution, rings catching the light. A scarf loosely draped, eyes alert. The audience applauded warmly. For a moment, it felt like an old Hollywood reunion, the kind that smoothed over years of headlines and heartache. Joy Behar smiled professionally, cards stacked neatly in her hands. Whoopi Goldberg welcomed Johnny, setting the tone, a conversation about art, resilience, and his return to filmmaking. Johnny spoke softly about music, about painting late at night, about finding peace after storms. The hosts nodded. The audience leaned in. Then Joy pivoted. "Johnny," she said, voice sharp but smiling, "some people think accountability in Hollywood still hasn't happened. Do you believe you've taken enough responsibility?" The temperature shifted. Johnny paused, choosing his words. "I believe in truth," he replied. "And I believe in being heard." Joy pressed on, referencing public opinion, courtrooms, and the idea of role models. Johnny's jaw tightened, not angry yet, but braced. He explained how trials can become theater, how silence can be mistaken for guilt. Applause rippled, then faded. The producers' headsets crackled. The conversation was still civil, but the edges were fraying. Cameras zoomed in. The calm had cracks now, hairline fractures that promised something louder. Johnny glanced toward the audience, then back to Joy, as if weighing whether honesty was worth the cost of interruption. It was. Joy leaned forward. "But Johnny, many women watching feel dismissed when powerful men talk about being misunderstood." Johnny inhaled slowly. "With respect, Joy," he said, voice steady but firm, "I don't speak for power. I speak for myself, and I won't apologize for defending my life." The audience murmured. Sonny Hostin interjected, attempting balance, but Joy returned sharper now. "You're a public figure. Words matter. Accountability matters. So does fairness," Johnny replied, eyes flashing. "So does listening without presuming guilt." The back and forth accelerated, overlapping sentences. Raised eyebrows, clipped smiles. Johnny's tone remained controlled, but the restraint felt like a wire pulled too tight. Joy referenced influence. Johnny countered with humanity. Each sentence landed heavier than the last. A producer waved frantically from the sidelines. Whoopi tried to steer the conversation back. "Let's take a breath." But the moment had escaped its lane. Joy said, "This isn't about you alone." Johnny stood. Gasps rippled through the studio. "It always becomes about survival," he said quietly. "When you're told your truth doesn't matter." Joy responded, "No one said that." Johnny shook his head. "That's exactly what it feels like." Security edged closer. The director cut to a wide shot, then back. Whoopi stood too, signaling a break. But Johnny had already decided. He thanked the audience, voice polite, eyes tired. As he turned, a producer touched his arm. Words were exchanged off mic. The director made the call. Johnny was escorted off the set, calmly, without spectacle, but the message was unmistakable. The applause that followed was uncertain, fractured, like a room unsure what it had just witnessed. Backstage, the hum of equipment sounded louder than any argument. Johnny sat for a moment, hands clasped, breathing steady. He didn't look angry, he looked resolved. A publicist whispered options. Johnny nodded once. "I'm fine," he said. "I said what I needed to say." On set, the host regrouped. Whoopi addressed the audience, emphasizing dialogue and respect. Joy straightened her papers, expression unreadable. The show went on, but something had shifted. An invisible line crossed. A reminder that live television is a tightrope. Within minutes, clips spread online. Headlines multiplied. Supporters praised Johnny's composure. Critics debated responsibility. Hashtags trended. Opinions hardened. Nuance struggled to keep up. That night, Johnny walked alone along a quiet street, city lights reflecting like scattered stars. He thought about art, about silence, about the cost of speaking in rooms built for sound bites. He didn't regret standing up. He regretted the world that made standing feel like defiance. At The View, producers met late, replaying tapes, discussing protocols. Joy defended tough questions. Others defended empathy. No villains, no victors, only a collision of truths under hot lights. By morning, the story had become legend. Kicked off, heated exchange, Unforgettable TV. Johnny returned to his work, music, film, the quiet discipline of creation. The show returned to its rhythm, and somewhere between applause and escort, a question lingered. In a culture of conversation, who gets to finish a sentence?